So, I'm here in the home of David Roy Green and a mystery guest. She is a mystery. She's actually called Julie Clare Hotchkiss, but I have no idea who she is at the deepest level. We're in a relationship together. We're in a connectedness. It's not traditional. It's unique. It's about when. It's about a creation. It's about love. In essence, we're both trying to find out what love is for us. Julie, why do you think today is going to be transformational for you?
I'm usually behind the camera.
Okay. Okay.
Filming you and
Okay.
all the wonderful people that have been filmed for When.
So, you've moved in front of the camera. What's going on in your body right now?
Well, I feel a little bit of fear, I have to say.
Yeah.
So, if I feel fear, then if I'm working on releasing fear
Yeah.
with somatic experiencing, Peter Levine's work, then I will shake it out. I'll let it go
Yeah.
so that my nervous system can release
Okay.
that fear.
Yeah, that looks good. And it's also the work of David Baselli, trauma release exercises. So that fear that you're shaking out now in your body, where does it come from?
Well, it comes from a primal brain, really.
Yeah.
Because we can't exist in a human body without fear, without all of the emotions, because they are inherent to our safety and survival. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't survive. But sometimes fear is triggered far too much because of childhood trauma, usually because of childhood trauma, because the brain hasn't integrated and wired. In Dr. Alan Shaw's work, there's been a lack of connectedness within the brain from an early age.
Okay, so your brain right now, what is it doing?
It's saying, I don't want to be seen, because I'm someone that prefers to hide. I'm
Okay.
someone that prefers to not be seen.
Okay, we got a cushion here. Do you want to hide behind the cushion, or there's a little throw at the side of it? Do you want to hide behind the throw?
I could do, couldn't I?
Yep. Good too. Oh, that's much better. That's perfect.
That's much nicer, isn't
Yeah.
it?
So, I mean, what do you get by hiding? What does it give to you?
Well, it's a full sense of security. It's not real, is it? The visual cortex takes up about 40% of the brain. What we see and what's coming into our eyes triggers us very quickly. And if I've seen things in the past that have triggered my brain, then in the same way being looked at very carefully, it's going to scare me, because that's probably some of my childhood experience.
Yeah, some of your childhood experience. So I noticed your body, you moved back initially. So what was the force in your childhood that made you move back?
Yeah, I think it was my father,
Okay.
because he expressed a lot of anger.
Yeah.
And as a sensitive child that was not emotionally developed in any way, I couldn't deal with it. So I went into a shell.
What shell of protection have you used to get you here? Because you've been a Drew Yoga teacher, you've been on the world stage creating the World Peace Flame, you've been on radio, you've been on TV. So how were you covering up? What was that shell that you used during those experiences where you're a teacher, in essence, for other people?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I think I split myself. So I split the fear part of me away, because although part of me loved teaching, part of me didn't enjoy it at all, and I felt a lot of fear. It brought up things to help me process them in that sense.
So what has shifted within you in those 6 years since we met in Lanzarote on a retreat, on a Drew Yoga retreat, where you were teaching me?
When we first met, what touched me about you was your honesty and openness and innocence. And that's something that I felt
But I'm not.
was lacking in me. It awoke certain things within me
Yeah.
that had been dormant, if you like.
Yeah, and you're touching your body here in this position. So what has been dormant in that area of your body, and what lies within that area of your body?
Well, it's love. And when we're in fear, it gets covered up. You know, when we're sometimes suppressing part of ourselves, it gets covered up.
So how did you shield that love that you feel in that part of your body as a teacher, as a Drew yoga teacher, and all the things that you've done out there previously? How did you shield it?
I don't know the answer to that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'd have to really think into that.
Yeah, I think I know.
How?
I think you ran away. I
Okay.
think you ran away from the child innocence that you talk about, that you saw in me. You ran away from it yourself because I don't have it. I didn't pinch it from you. You had it. So if you could do anything in the world, what would you do?
I think for me the most powerful thing is to be a witness. You know, I've done a lot of things and I've taught a lot of people, but somehow I felt I didn't want to be that person. I just wanted to explore myself without being a teacher, because it puts you in a different frame. And I just wanted to listen, really, and that's why When has been so amazing, because it's given me the opportunity to listen and to witness other people, many types of people, many different types of trauma, challenges, suffering, and to feel that within myself, because I believe that everything that we witness is really us. We're witnessing ourselves, and the practice of witnessing also does make a change.
Okay, very good. So you're witnessing me now, and I'm punching you. I'm kicking you. I'm spitting in your face. What do you make of me? Am I good or am I bad?
You're just angry.
I'm furious. I'm furious. Look at me. So, what is the solution to violence in your eyes?
Well, that's a very big question. But I do believe that, you know, when we take the journey from the primal brain to the prefrontal cortex, then bringing consciousness to everything actually gives us the answers, because violence is a part of us that has been hurt and pushed away. And when we can see it and bring it into our being, embrace it into our wholeness, then it basically disappears.
Oh,
It doesn't disappear, it just becomes one. It becomes one.
okay.
And I remember I saw my rage.
Yeah.
I've seen my rage quite a
Have
few
you?
times.
What's it look like?
It's scary,
Yeah.
you know, to really see like murderous rage.
Yeah.
But it was liberating for me, because I saw something that I hadn't seen in myself before, and I was able to integrate it
Yeah.
and bring it into myself.
I want to cry now. You're touching me. You're touching me because you're opening up to the truth. And I do want to cry. I honestly do. And I think that's good, because when I recognise the truth around the world, as we've travelled and filmed and all the wonderful things that we've had the privilege to do, when something is spoken so beautifully, it touches me deeply. And the truth is what I'm about, and I believe you. There's no other woman for me that I am supposed to be with than you, because you tell the truth. And no, not all the time you don't, but then none of us do, because social compliance gets in the way. And but the truth will set us free from trauma and abuse and violence and neglect. So your eyes, what do you see in front of you right now?
Well, essentially I'm seeing myself, because there's nothing that is not part of my perception. Really and truthfully, nothing else exists. So what I'm seeing is a mirror of who I am.
Okay. So in your childhood, let's go to the childhood experiences where your father was coming forward with violence of some type, and you were pushed back. What were you really seeing at that level, at that deep level?
Yeah, I was seeing myself. And it's a challenge to know that it's yourself. But yet that's the most liberating thing, because, you know, like you say, social compliance doesn't allow us to see our polarity, and that all of the anger and fear and shame and terror are suppressed.
You're pushing down?
And pushed down.
So why did you do that? Why did you push all of those things down in yourself?
One, I didn't want to see them, and two, I didn't know how to deal with them.
Yeah, but they're great.
They are
They're
now. I know that now.
I've loved seeing them.
Yeah.
It's been challenging.
That's what you've taught me.
Well, I haven't taught you anything. It's nothing to do with me. You're seeing yourself. Don't forget.
Yes, but
Don't
you
forget.
have triggered it.
You're pointing at me. You're very, very violent. You must stop it. I mean, I'll have to say, you know, we've had loads and loads of fun, and there's more fun coming out of both of us because we're less stuck in the emotions. So together over the last 6 or 7 years, we're flowing, and soon we're going out again for the first time. Now, you have technically helped me bring together, when I say technically, I mean technically in the technical knowledge that you have. You're very clever, which is very annoying. You're almost on University Challenge, the Hotchkiss family. And the Green family are not so clever, and I find that really annoying. But it's the truth. There's nothing we can do. What I have is a lot of common sense. What you have is a lot of technical knowledge, brainy, probably, in my eyes, not put it to its full potential until we met. Now you have a project, you have your name on it, you have your film. What would you say direct to the camera now for your moment to leave the world a better place?
If you're feeling pain, whether it be physical pain or emotional pain, to first of all to listen to that pain and to approach it and ask it, how does this make me feel? And invite it to come out. Carl Jung said that we're not here to heal our illnesses. Our illness is here to heal us. So whatever we're feeling emotionally, physically, that is showing us where we need to listen and where we can go inside of ourselves and integrate. Because those illnesses, those pains are like little children that are looking for their home, and they want to be embraced and brought into the oneness. And it's an amazing journey. It's an amazing journey, and I've done it myself. I've worked with it myself many times and found a great healing through that. The body, to me, represents the unconscious, and it holds everything that we suppress. So illness is a gift. Illness is something to help to heal us. So the more we can listen to ourselves, to our bodies particularly, the more we will come into wholeness and healing with who we are.
Now, The Law of Attraction and the Presence Process and Michael Brown, you've brought Michael's beautiful book here with you. What has it meant for you personally, and how has it helped you?
Well, just to give an overview, the Presence Process is a book, but it's essentially it's a technique. It's a process of 10 weeks of reading and working with specific statements with a breathing technique that's done morning and evening. And the purpose of the Presence Process is to integrate emotional trauma that has not been integrated. It's to bring it out and up into our consciousness. And so I've done it 3 times now. I started to understand that my life and what I experience in my life is a direct mirror of how I'm feeling, and that nobody can do anything to me. You know, I'm no longer a victim. Everything that comes to me is a messenger or a mess ender. So if somebody comes to me very angry, that is a mirror of my own anger. And once I integrate that, and once I can see that, then that ends that mess of anger, of that particular part of anger within me, that messenger, and that could be anyone. The only issue is for me to bring that into consciousness, and that's why I say that the journey and the purpose of, for me, of why I'm here is, you know, to move from the primal brain, from the fight, flight, freeze response, to the consciousness of the prefrontal cortex. And the presence process has helped me to do that. I'm still in process to get to the present moment, because getting to the present moment means that we've integrated all of our past childhood trauma. That's quite a big thing.
Okay, so when do you think you'll have integrated all your past childhood trauma, Julie?
Well, before I die.
Okay.
That's my aim, because
that's good.
You know, to be able to pass away, and that will be my journey completed. And it's not childhood trauma of something that my parents did to me.
Okay.
It's really just what I've experienced, and also the generational trauma, because there was a lot of grief in my family, and I felt that as a child.
Okay, so what was that grief about in the family? Would you mind explaining a little?
Well, we have to remember that, you know, I mean, my grandparents were born in Victorian times or just after, you know, and it was all very British, stiff upper lip, don't express your emotions kind of upbringing. And that's the upbringing that my parents had, so they were then bringing it on to us. Well, my grandmother on my father's side, she lost her mother quite early on, and my grandfather, he lost, I think, 2 or 3 brothers in the First World War. Then my father lost his mother when he was 14, and I feel that he never really grieved that. He didn't bring out those emotions.
Okay.
So therefore, when I became emotional as a child, he couldn't deal with that. So he just said, shut up, you know, stop being emotional.
Okay.
And he even gave me a name. He called me Griselda. That was my name as a child.
Yeah. You're smiling at that, right? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's okay now, and I look back on it, but at the time, you know, I felt in a lot of trauma. I didn't know the word trauma then, but I felt isolated. You know, I'm not understood as a child.
So you felt isolated. Now, I would say your body language is not showing isolation. Your body language is showing integration and connection right now, as you're talking about Griselda and you were smiling. Why is that?
Well, I guess I've integrated that now. You know, although it was painful, and I've been through a number of different therapeutic processes, you know, EMDR, somatic experiencing, constellation work, just to really understand what happened, because I didn't have a memory of it really. It was just kind of like a bit of a blank.
Okay.
Suppressed.
Like a blanket.
Emotional, yeah, like a blanket.
Like a blanket.
It was suppressed emotional trauma.
Okay.
That I felt.
What, Griselda, what was the bottom line Griselda? What predominantly did you feel as a child?
I felt rejected, separated. You know, when I look back at, that's been the polarities of my life, is, you know, from separation to unity, which is what I've been seeking since then, and oneness.
Yeah.
That has been very present for me, those two polarities.
Okay.
And I still see them, but it's much, much less than it was.
So what are the two polarities that you've got there between your fingers? What are they?
Separation and oneness.
Okay. And how are they going to come together?
Well, they come together when each of these polarities gets less and less and less. So the separation feels less.
Okay.
But also the need to surrender, disintegrate, just doesn't need to be there anymore.
They're almost flying. I can see that these are almost wings here that you've got. So where are you flying to now, Julie Clare Hotchkiss? Soon.
I'm flying to the centre of myself.
Okay. And what lies there in that centre, and where is it in your body?
Well, it's in the heart.
Okay.
I believe that love lies there, and
Okay.
connection and oneness. I didn't feel connected to child, although some things really kept me going, you know. Music and sports and swimming and all those things helped me a lot. Although I had a near-death experience, nearly drowned when I
had a
was...
near-death experience?
Yeah, nearly drowned when I was
Correct.
7.
Yeah.
And I couldn't swim, and I was way out. I'd had this little rubber dinghy type thing, and I'd been out in it in the morning with my dad, and then he fell asleep on the beach.
Okay.
And so I thought, I'll just go out, you know, and after a little while I got a bit far from the beach, and I thought, I'll just put my feet down on the bottom and walk back. But of course there was no bottom.
Okay.
So-
Well, I'm going to just jump in there and be a little bit naughty and say, okay, that's a story. That's a story, a near-death experience when you were 7.
Yeah.
So what lies beyond that story? Forget the story. What was it really about?
I think it was a cry for help,
Okay.
you know, because
So-
I hadn't connected that until later on when
Okay.
I explored it. But it was a
Okay.
cry for help.
It is.
And it was the first time that I actually prayed. I remember praying
Okay.
in that moment.
Okay.
Because I thought, I'm going to die. You
Okay.
know, I really thought I was going to die. You know, I kept going under. I was pulling this thing. I was trying to hang on to it.
A bit like the blanket coming
Yeah.
over you, the waves.
Yeah.
So why didn't you die in that moment, and why were you there in the ocean crying out for help? Who did you want to come?
Well, I wanted my parents to come and see me and see my pain, really.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Um,
And did they?
well, a man came in a speedboat
Oh.
to rescue
Who
me.
was it? Was that God?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Was it? What did he look
Right at
like?
that moment,
What did he
it
look
was
like?
God.
It's God, yes. Brilliant. I could say, hallelujah, praise be to the Lord, Krishna, Buddha. We're both not attached to any religion. We love them all, in a way. We love them
Absolutely.
all.
Oh, yeah, it's
So,
all one. It's all one.
God was in the boat
Yeah.
that came to save you. What did God look like?
I can't actually remember because
Okay.
I was in too much shock.
Saved your life and you can't remember. It's shocking.
I
So
was traumatised.
let's stay in this 7-year process, because Michael Brown talks about the 7-year process of imprinting, so that pretty much everything is set as a human being within those first 7 years. It's been foretold how you're going to feel, really, because how you felt within those 7 years with your mother and father as Griselda, hiding, not being able to be emotional, be out there, be seen. Now look what you're doing. You're going out there. You're in front of the camera now, and then you're going out there to give other people a witness. So, is there a reason for your life?
Of course. Well, there's a reason for everything.
Okay.
I really do believe there's a reason for everything.
Mhm.
And for me, you know, when I was 21, which is another part of the 7-year cycle,
Right, yeah.
I kind of rebelled, you know, and got into a lot of music and dancing and a whole lot of, you know, because I was in a freeze. The music and the dancing helped me to start loosening up and
Yeah.
defrosting, if you
Okay,
like.
yeah.
And when I was 17, I remember the moment where somebody played me this heavy metal music,
Right.
you know, and now I probably think it was, you know, not very attractive, but at the time I loved it. I loved it. There was something about it that just drew me, and I just got totally into this whole scene, you know, biker, leather jackets, you know, lots of music. That was about a 4 or 5 year period when I just totally got absorbed into this. And looking back on it now, I can understand what happened. There was so much anger within me, and I wanted to express it. I wanted to find a way of expressing it. And, you know, Peter Levine talks about waking the tiger.
Yeah.
You know, that when we've been in a freeze, like an animal has been in a severe fight or flight situation, it's actually gone into a freeze. To come out of it, you have to go back into the sympathetic nervous system, back into the fight, to actually release that before you can come back into the normal sort of state of the nervous system. And I do believe that I needed to get back into to awaken my tiger, to awaken that.
Okay. And did it work?
Well, yes, actually, to a point. I mean, you've heard of head banging, where you literally bang your head for hours.
I have. Why on earth would you do
I
that?
know. Well, exactly. But at the time, it felt completely right for me to do it. And the fact that it was like hundreds of other people doing the same thing was like,
You show us now how it works, how you bang your head.
I haven't done it for years.
Okay.
But it's something like this.
Okay. And what's it doing for you right now?
Well, it does help to release this part of the neck.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And I do see that was a process. And so after a couple of years, the really heavy rock music started to appeal to me less, and I started to get into other types of music. But also I was taking a lot of different drugs, and I was basically involved in a sort of what you might call an alternative sort of scene.
Well, hey.
Kind of.
So you're not too prim and proper then, after all.
Do I look prim and proper?
Not now, no. I'm a bit frightened. But no. But it was interesting because I spoke to your father when he visited for Christmas, and he said, I said, what's your view of Julie? And he said, she's always the same. She's always just smiling and happy. So you weren't really what your father thought you were.
No, I think he's got a short memory. Because I certainly wasn't like that as a child.
No.
He probably forgot that.
No.
But
do you think you became that after the headbanging?
Well, it was a process that took place, really, and it's not short. But certainly that was an expression. But then the next phase was that when I was 21, my boyfriend and I had these massive rows for a few weeks, and then he literally threw me out of the house. It was like a cold, December night, and he literally said, don't come back.
So what did you do wrong? Why did he throw you out on the street like that?
I was angry and he was angry.
You must have been terrified.
I was. I didn't understand, because I would tell somebody, about my boyfriend, they were like, oh, you'll get over it, it'll be fine. But what I didn't realise, it was triggering all the emotions from childhood, and I was feeling like immense devastation, and it was like a death, really. I felt a lot of pain. But now I understand that what I thought was like an emotional breakdown was a breakthrough, as Dr. George Halaz says. It was a way of going through those emotions.
Yeah.
And finding something like an amazing jewel.
What is the connection between the near drowning in the ocean with being called Griselda and stopped from expressing your emotions, or felt that you were stopped from expressing your emotions?
Well, I suppose it's just getting to the core of who I am. It's taking me to the core. So I'm seeing the emotions that have been suppressed in the unconscious coming in front of me, and having to let go, because there's nothing else you can do when you're in that much pain and that much fear. The only thing that you can do is let go. It brought me to who I am.
Yeah,
a little bit more.
And who are you?
Well, I could say that I'm nothing and I'm everything, beyond the physical facade and beyond the emotional level. I believe that I'm love.
Oh, back to love again.
Yeah.
So, quantify love.
Love is letting go.
What a relief. What a relief. Love is letting go. So we're hanging on here, aren't we? We're gripping on with our legs, or with tension, and with our arms, and with our features, and with our bodies. We're holding on to something. I'd say we're holding on to life too tightly, hence we've got pain in our body. We're trying to grip onto it, we're trying to hold onto it, and yet love is letting go. Love is letting go. So we're at a contraindication. We have two polarities.
Yeah.
We are two polarities that have come together to let go of hanging on to life. Don't you think that's annoying?
No, it's great. I think it's wonderful.
Do you? Well, how can I have the house and the car and the cup of tea and the companionship when I'm letting go of it? How can I have that?
Well, you can have it. I mean, letting go doesn't mean letting go of, say, of our physical body and dying. It just means letting go of the attachment to it. You know, and that's what it says in the yogic scriptures, that it's the attachment that causes us pain, because we can't exist without our physical body. We can't exist without shelter and food. You know, we need those things. If we let go of them emotionally, we don't have attachment to them emotionally, then we can flow through life a lot more peacefully.
So, the jewel, because you are jewels, you're called jewels. There's a jewel that lies within your heart and soul. What jewel is it?
I think it's pink. It's a pink jewel that has always been there.
Oh.
And I haven't always seen it,
Wow.
but it's always been
Like
there.
a rose quartz
It could be.
type of.
Yeah.
How do you picture it?
Yeah, I think a rose quartz is good.
You have a rose quartz over there on your shelf. If you were going to give that to someone in the world to say thank you, who would you give that rose quartz to?
I'll give it to my mother.
I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry.
I'll give it to her because, you know, she struggled through life, but she always wanted to help other people. I think that's a genuine thing that I learnt from her, you know, because I think she felt a lot of pain, but she felt joy in giving back to others.
Yeah, absolutely the case. So why have we hated our mothers all these years? Why have we done that? Unconsciously hated our mothers, not in a conscious way, not in a way that could be seen outwardly, but inwardly. Why have we done that?
I think it's just a separation, that we become separated. I remember when I first started to study nutrition, and Barbara Wren was our teacher, and she looked at everyone in the class. There's about 100 people in the class, and she started talking about the elements, and she said that the earth element is connected with food and with the mother. And she said, all of you are out of balance with the earth element, otherwise you wouldn't be here, because we wouldn't have been drawn to study about food and nutrition if we weren't out of balance with that. And I know that that's true for me, you know, that I didn't have a strong bond with my mother because she didn't have a strong bond with her mother, and it's like this generational situation that comes through, and it's nobody's fault.
Yeah.
It's just the way
Yeah.
it is.
How do we heal that loss of connection that we felt within our childhood with our mother?
I think
do we do
we've
that?
got to become conscious, really, of what happened. I certainly, for me, I have a picture of myself about 18 months old, just after my brother had been born, and I'm sitting outside eating a biscuit, looking not very happy at all. I see that picture and I know that food became that nurturance for me after that separation.
Yeah.
You know, because my mother wasn't able to care for me, she cared for my brother. So then, you know, I was on one side, I felt.
Okay.
You know.
And so did you overeat? How did it work? What happened?
Well, I love food and I still love food, but I just, all I ever wanted to do was cook and be around food, and so I chose catering as a career.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of cooking. I ran a health food shop for many, many years and promoted different health products, brought out some of our own products as well. And always being around food has been really important for me.
Yeah.
I always felt safe. I felt safe around food.
Okay.
You know, that was where I felt at home.
Okay. So here's a cup of tea, green tea. Is it protecting you?
Well, essentially not,
No.
but you could say that actually it is, because it's providing nurturance.
So what did you gain from working with Barbara Wren? What was the one predominant thing that she said to you during your work with her that really stood out, reference food and healing of trauma?
That's a big question, because she's a very expansive, thinking and feeling woman. She, everything comes into the picture really. But one of the first things she taught us was that to listen to the person's story and to really, really hear it, because that starts to make the change. It starts to take the fear away.
So going to creativity, going to creating something such as this, whether it's through dance, music, art, pottery, which is a beautiful thing. What does creativity bring for the healing of trauma in your eyes?
I think creativity is one of the most important things we can do for ourselves, to heal trauma. Carl Jung said that whatever is not expressed consciously, it comes back as destiny. So we then have to deal with it later. So let's express our emotions now when we're feeling them. And you taught me a lot about that, because I suppressed anger massively. I couldn't express it. And you, remember you saying going up the hill, so we've got anger management lesson today.
I think I might have, yes. But that was crazy. I didn't know what I was letting out the back, to be honest. I mean, this huge monster. Okay.
But also, in a serious point, that creating anything, and we don't have to scream to release anger. We can draw. We can just move the TMJ.
Yeah.
Because this holds a lot, and when we release that, I do that every morning.
So what emotion are you releasing?
It's anger.
Okay.
Because the TMJ is like, if we're an animal, and Peter Levine, he studied a lot of animals for his somatic work. If we want to fight, we want to bite something.
Yeah. Is that food?
Well, I think it can be food, and that's the good thing about it, that, if you bite into an apple, you can release anger through that.
Yeah. So when you were producing the food that you were talking about, because it gave you that feeling of nurturance, were you also expressing your anger around the food to create for those people that you were cooking for?
Yeah, I think there's always an element, there's always a polarity in everything that we do, and I noticed that in my life, that if I felt like a victim, I wanted to be a victor. Then you go down to a victim again, and you've got this process going on, when really, the middle way is the moderate way.
Okay, so there's a middle way. So if you're in hospital and you've had a heart attack and you've got a middle way, you've got no life apparently. Your heart has stopped.
Yeah, from the heart monitor perspective, yeah.
So could that have been possible to have been that in your life up to date, to be that?
No, I mean you can't be like that, because life is trauma and life is healing, but the only thing we can do is become conscious of the anger, the fear, shame, whatever polarity of it, being a victim, become conscious of that. Because once we become conscious, we can integrate it more.
Yeah.
And actually take the edges off it, if you like.
Yeah. You're normally behind the camera, so you're listening to stories, but you're listening to stories with Wen. You've listened to, this is the 88th story. You're listening to your own story, and you've listened to 87 other stories around the world so far. Why do you want to carry on with when you could do anything else in the world?
I love the bigger picture. I love integrating things that don't seem to go together. One of my favourite poems says, "Cling to truth and it becomes falsehood. Understand falsehood and it becomes truth."
Okay, so I'm trying to hang on to truth here. Come and save me. Tight, so tight, my back's hurting and my face is wrinkled, and it's already wrinkled, but it's wrinkling more. So I'm holding on. Why am I doing that in your eyes?
Well, it's fear, isn't it? So once we're able to let go, and then I could see why I had trauma in my life. I could understand it to a point, like when I was 21, where I could see the trauma and I could let it go, to where I actually felt like a great power and strength inside of me that was in like an awakening. I didn't have words for it in that time. I didn't know anything about spirituality, but I just knew that I felt one. I felt connected with other people, with nature, and I felt completely different. And that was a huge lesson for me.
I'm going back into the tightness again, holding on, and it's my mother. For me, it's my mother I'm trying to hold on to, because my father's coming to attack me, and I'm holding on to her. But it's a futile exercise. Who are you holding on to there?
I think father.
Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Why would that be for you?
Well, I guess it's a polarity as well, and there's always safety, you know, the father represents safety.
So were you frightened of your mother in childhood?
Yeah, I think to a degree, yes.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've met her, of course. And I said, interestingly to you, it's your mother that most frightens me, not your father. And I mean that in a respectful way, Mary, so don't come and get me. But I mean it because the emphasis can be so much on the father, because we look to our fathers to be the protector and the strength, and almost the beauty in a way, not in a physical way, but from the aspect of safety. But it's the mother that has such a deep influence, and that's interesting. So you were frightened of your mother, and I was looking for protection. Mm. So hence we have a polarity there. The polarity that we are, it was talked about in human design that we're electromagnetic. Mm-hmm. So we've come together for a purpose, this purpose being when, and to create, because we are polarities battling against each other, and we've had many arguments, many fights, great stories to share with children that we don't have. But what we do have is children around the world to share with. We have the whole of the world to share with. Now, that motherhood, that creation of a baby, because there's many women in this world that are desperate for a baby, that just want to take their own life if they don't get the baby. What would you say to them from your journey of what it's meant to you not to be a mother, not to have a child?
Well, I think a longing for anything is a cry for help from inside, the part of us that is not integrated inside of us. So what I shared earlier about listening to that pain and going into it and really feeling what it is and inviting it to open up will bring a resolution.
So your pain, where you would have had a child, what is it saying to you right now?
Saying relax.
Relax.
Relax and let go.
Relax. And again, I'm feeling emotional because it's the truth to me. I think it is all about letting go. Life and love is about letting go, not holding on. We've heard it through the centuries, we've heard it through thousands of years, and ultimately we're born and we have to let go of life, our own life.
Exactly.
Our own life. So why do I run away from it? Why do I hide from it the truth that I will die, and that there is something in my eyes better the other side? Not in a way that this is horrible, but that life is trauma and life is holding on. There has to be an awakening to letting go of life, not holding on, because from what we've said together as well, that is love, that is true love.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in your eyes now, I see a shine and a sparkle, and I'm proud to sit by, that I'm proud to be associated with, that I'm proud to build a creation with, but knowing that the creation will go, just as any child will go, just as any organisation will go, just as anything will go. And we've set an intention of letting go of when, because that has to be love. That has to be love in my eyes, unconditionally letting something go that you've loved all your life. And of course that's in essence ourselves. It's myself. Letting go of myself and surrendering to a higher power. I'm not going to put a name to it because God does have connotations, I hate God because of childhood trauma, and it's not true. God doesn't hate me, but God is the presence for me. It's the space between the notes. It's the space between us. It's not you and it's not me. So I don't give you platitudes. I don't give myself platitudes. I love you. I adore you. You're my be all and end all. But what I feel is the truth, and the truth of shame will set me free. I had sexual abuse trauma, but it's not me anymore. It's not, I am not going to attach to it because it was a set of experiences. So I will not say I anymore. I will say brilliant. Brilliant that I experienced sexual trauma in my childhood, sexual abuse. I'm free. I'm flying to New Zealand with you in a few weeks, but we have sat here in this home for days and weeks and months, almost chained to these desks, these 2 desks that we've got, to create something together, a baby, in essence, that we let go of. I think that's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
I think that's pretty amazing, and I want to shake your hand and say thanks. Thanks for being a partner in crime and understanding that there is a way forward, that love does exist, and it's not us. We're under no illusion, are we?
No.
I'm under no illusion. It's definitely not me. If I thought I was love, I'd end it.
It's a polarity.
I'd end it because, not in a way that I'm being flippant, but people are taking their own lives, and that really deeply saddens me and touches me. And I wish to be part of the de-suiciding of the world and the decommissioning of the world in a way that it is changing, it is shifting, and it will shift on its axis, and it is literally. So just getting back to a final word from you, the shortest word that you could say to the world, what would it be?
Can I have 3 words?
Yeah.
Trauma to transformation.
Ooh, that's my catchphrase.
Well, it's a very good catchphrase. I think it's key, to understanding how we can move forward and how we can become more connected within ourselves and more connected with others. To face trauma really, and to understand it.
Yeah, you've done it.
You're
doing it.
And to witness it really.
You're doing it.
I mean, quantum physics, they say that the observer makes a difference. There's an effect. When you observe something, that has an effect. And I think that's very true. You don't necessarily have to go out and help every single person. You can't, but by witnessing stories and by witnessing people that are in other parts of the world that are suffering, there is a change through that. There is a transformation. And it's interesting because I came across transcendental meditation meditator, and he was part of an experiment that was done in Washington DC, where for 2 months hundreds of people meditated with the aim of reducing the violent crime rate, which in itself is a witnessing. And the crime rate over that 2-month period reduced by 23%.
Okay, that's good. So, can peace be revealed in this world?
Yes.
Oh, crikey.
Yes, and it has to come from within.
Okay.
Has to come from within.
Do you think we better have a word with Donald Trump? Because everybody is talking about Donald Trump. So, in your eyes, who is Donald Trump?
Well, he's me, isn't he? I mean, he's my dark side, if I project that onto him, and I think he's a great teacher in his own way.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't approve of his policies as such, but I do believe that he's a great teacher and that he will create a shift inside of a lot of people.
So it's shaking everything up, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think because you always get polarity, so, where darkness rises, then light rises as well. And, we're moving into challenging times, but times of trauma and times of transformation. The two go together, they go hand in hand. Can't have one without the other.
Great. Well, I could put my hand out now. What do you think is falling into my hand?
I see like stardust falling into your hands.
Cool. Yeah, for me, I'm just blessings really, and I think of Jane Keano, and if I had Donald Trump in my hand now, I would say to him, it's okay, because I believe, this is my view, that he's experienced childhood trauma the same as pretty much everyone on the planet, and I would say it's okay. It's okay to let go. And of course I'm speaking to myself, so I hope one day that I have opportunity to meet him and say thank you for being a teacher really of life, because of what I can see with my own experiences, that is everything has taught me something, and when it's something that I don't want, I mean I didn't want to find out that I had been raped, in essence is the word to use, in my childhood at 2-3 years old, but I did find it out, and I think to myself, well, if I can face that, I can face anything. And I'd wish to face people around the world and to be with them and just to give them a moment on camera like we already have. And I hope that we together get that opportunity to give that opening really for people to share.
Definitely.
Without judgment,
Yeah.
without trying to get stuck into the stories of the good and the bad. This is good and this is bad. We know that there's polarity going on in the world. We know that things are a conflict, but there is a movement forward and there is a way, and it's the truth. The truth will set us free, and we can then see when we share that we are all connected. This shape that you made, we are all connected. We're connected to Mother, we're connected to Father, and we're connected to the earth and the stars and the heavens, but with no agenda. Independent, non-profit, here for everyone, as much as we can give them the witness through when. So thank you, Julie. It's been an absolute delight, and I wish you well on your continued journey ahead.
Thank you, David.